Hey there, goblins. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name's Robert,
I'm Eric.
and today we're talking about Howl of the Wild.
Howl of the Wild.
Just came out today. For the first time ever, I actually got my pre-order PDF ahead of time.
Yeah, for once.
For once. So I immediately was like sending it to Eric. I'm like, all right, I need
This
to
guy never gets his stuff on
read
time.
this
It's
right
always
now.
delayed.
It's always because like my payment information's messed up or something like that, and it's just I'm cursed.
We need
Paizo
to
has
find
cursed
an
me.
intern here just to make sure you get the PDF so that
Absolutely.
we can read them.
Oh,
before we
some,
actually
a lot of
phone
people on our Discord who do get them early actually send me the PDF. A lot of times I'm like, hey, I haven't got my PDF yet. They took my money. Can someone please send me the PDF? I know one of you motherfuckers has got it. And here we are. You know what I mean? So I got it early. And we've been cranking on this book. It's a wild book, no pun intended.
Yeah. Yes, it is. You intended every letter.
I did. Yeah. But before we jump into that, I just want to thank our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us as always. We really appreciate it. This month's topic on our Patreon is going to be jumping into the iconic wizard.
Yep.
Who is in a desert. So we're making a goblin wizard. We're making our own backstory for him in our own setting. All about the Goblin Salvage Rights. Each of these months, we cover another one of our iconic goblins from the setting, and that we use them as a lens to kind of, grow our budding little empire.
Explore the setting.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And that includes lore. That also includes some crunch
Mm-hmm.
that's specifically affiliated with a biome. We try to take a biome and then build our Goblinati character, our iconic, around that idea. And from that feeds into, well, what do items look like? What do new spells look like?
Absolutely.
What could a new type of vehicle look like? What would an archetype or new monsters look like?
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is a way for us to build out a 4-page PDF that all you fine patrons get at the end of every month.
Every single
When we're
goblin
on time.
every single goblin who pays us money gets one of these PDFs. They also get access to our Discord. We have a public Discord. Every goblin is
That one's
allowed. But we have like a private section that only patrons are allowed to jump into. They can ask us questions, berate us. They're legally allowed to shit on me verbally.
Yep.
That's about it. Yeah.
It's contract. We all have signatures.
And it's goblin signatures. Yeah.
So just these goblin iconics, and we do this every month.
Yep.
How many of these documents have we pushed out so far?
So far, we've done 2 of the iconic documents, but a couple previous months we did things that are we did the buds of these flowers, which are kind of like we released some crunch for a specific thing and some lore that went around it, but we weren't quite there yet.
Yeah, sort of like just warming up before
Exactly.
the big race.
We're trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and then sometime at the end of 2023, we created a roadmap for 2024, and we've stuck to that roadmap.
It's a lot
pretty
better
close.
than I thought we were going to.
Yeah,
to be sure.
I'm honestly impressed with us at this point. So full-blown publishing company is kind of what we're turning into. And speaking of which,
the goal, sure.
Yeah.
Don't these things need names?
These do. And we don't really know what name we want to give our little publishing company that we're starting. I have to incorporate a company soon because we have like $200 of AdSense revenue on YouTube. And I don't want that to be on my personal taxes.
Yeah, I don't want to mess up your personal finances at all. So if anybody out there, if all of you out there, if 2 of you out there have ideas for a cool little goblin-y business name you want to throw our way, let us know.
I was thinking, and this is just my own personal.
Ideas.
Oh, this is just my personal idea. But what if we named the company after a famous weapon or something in history that slayed a dragon?
Okay.
As if,
like Excalibur or
I don't know,
some famous,
dragon slaying
like
sword,
our history or like a
any
fantasy?
history. Maybe a fantasy history. That would be cool too, as long as we're not like stepping on the toes of like copyright infringement or something like that. But like my dream, as a young child has always been to like have my own game company and have it eclipse the greatest game companies that exist. You know what I mean?
You don't dream small, do you?
Dragons and Dungeons or whatever. And it'd be really cute if we named our publishing company the sword that slew the dragon. I'm just saying, if we're looking at what they're doing right now,
gobbos,
they might be slaying
toes
themselves
up by the company fire.
Absolutely.
Let's see if we can make another little goblin's dream come true together. through the power of friendship.
Through the power of friendship and memes, baby. But yeah, so if you have any ideas for a company name, like a publishing company name, please let us know. Goblin Salvage Rights is like an IP, so you can kind of think about it like Paizo has Paizo, and then they make Pathfinder and they make Starfinder and other stuff like that. So this is the kind of the mothership that would hold the IP, if you will. I mean, we could also just call the company Goblin Salvage Rights. That's an option too.
Sure.
You know, or like Goblin
But yeah,
LLC.
anybody who wants to weigh in, now's the time. And wouldn't it be cool to have your words thrown up on the masthead?
Absolutely. So before we jump into the topic, we always have to talk about what we played.
We played games.
We
and
played
for the first time in a
games.
long time. We both ran and we both played each other's
Absolutely.
games. That was
I don't know
cool.
if you can really call what I did running a game so much.
You had the hardest job of the two. You
But-
really did. That was not.
We did have some cool RP. So I ran Kingmaker, and we're in this awkward phase of Kingmaker where you have to start the kingdom.
Kingdom building rules.
The kingdom building rules are trying to be nice. The kingdom building rules are complex. They are their own system of governance. And
They're their own game.
they're literally their own game with their own actions, their own turn order. It's a whole thing. And
I felt like a sound engineer at a switchboard with like 11,000 knobs in varying degrees. And,
exactly. And this is making me really want to just buy the VTT on
and have
Foundry
it all automated.
and just run it all on Foundry. Like I would pay $100 for the Foundry module just for it to run itself.
Yeah.
So that I know, but also giving the players agency, because like the book says you can just like not bother with it and like fill in the starting character sheet and it'll quote unquote run itself. But then it immediately has you like, well, let the adventurers level up their kingdom to like level 3 or something like that.
I can't weigh in on this conversation because I'm a player and I'm
Exactly.
not allowed to read that
Exactly.
stuff.
So it's basically like have them do kingdom stuff. And then a couple scenes happen, like a couple like kingdom scenes where like the players have to be rulers and they have to make decisions and things happen and they have to solve some problems. They're kind of like little 2-page adventures, which are kind of neat. And then when the players get to level 5 or 6 and their kingdom gets to level 4, you can now start the second half of this book or the second half of this chapter or whatever, which is like Troll Trouble. So I was really stuck and I was like, all right, gang, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run the rules. And if and when they suck, I will run them on Discord. And that's what we'll do going forward.
I don't even know that they suck. I just don't know what they are aside from what I've read on Archives of Nethys.
It's like 40. The player's guide for this thing is 40 pages, 39 of which are the kingdom building
dedicated to
rules.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I plan on doing.
I know somebody out there has used the second edition Kingdom rules,
Yeah.
and I want you to talk to my GM over here so I can have an amazing Kingmaker experience on Thursdays.
Yeah. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on Foundry. I'm sorry, not Foundry. I'm going to run it on Discord.
Okay.
And I'm just going to do the turns myself. And when actions need to be made or choices need to be made, I'll basically say, hey, what should your kingdom do? And I think I'm going to give it like a day for people to respond. And when they don't, I'm going to be like, this is what happens. And then I'll go to the next step. And then a day will
You're
go
going to be
by.
our human path builders specifically for Kingmaker? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Is there an app out there that just does Kingmaker?
I've looked and I don't see anything.
Okay.
Like
That needs to exist. 'cause
I'm
this-
honestly this tempted to just like literally learn Python just to write a program that does Kingmaker for us.
Remember that earlier conversation we had where we agreed together that Robert doesn't dream small?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
So
all
anyway.
kinds of disposable time
But
now.
besides that, I think we had a pretty good time because y'all got to like role play some of the kingdom building elements of like founding the kingdom, deciding the place. We made Jacques give a speech every 5 seconds, which was hilarious.
We sure did.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I don't think it was the best time for a lot of players, but it was a time.
It was just strange and
That was
different
had.
and awkward and slow, and
Yeah.
the pacing wasn't what we become accustomed to for Kingmaker sessions. Like normally, it's kind of like watching a series of cutscenes with some battle scenes, and that's what Kingmaker looks like for us. But this was it was an accounting class. And I'm
Which I
sure,
normally
like in a
love.
certain context or a certain environment, that would
Yeah.
be fun. But I felt stupid the entire night,
Gotcha.
and that's where my less than normal amount of enjoyment came from wasn't because it was a bad experience or a bad set of rules. It was just I felt freaking stupid the whole night.
Gotcha.
So you're like, make decisions. Okay. A, C, heads, tails. I don't know. What
you
do
have
want?
these 20 options. which three of them would you like to do? And it's like, oh shit, I need the context for all these things.
Yeah. So
that's asking too much from my players.
when you're done running this thing,
Yeah.
wherever we decide to just abort the whole project, whether
Right.
it's at level 10, 15, or 20, I'm gonna go back and read this fucking thing and
Mhm.
find out like what does it seem like was the intended way to run this? Because again, I'm in the dark on my side
Yeah.
of the table.
Totally.
And it's just I just feel bad for you, man, because I can see you struggling over there, being like, I'm supposed to be enjoying my job running this thing.
Why didn't I run Abomination Vaults? Why?
So
I
yeah,
could have
I'd
had
like
it easy.
I'd like to commiserate with you at
Yeah.
level 20 when I read the damn thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
So tell me about Edgewatch, Eric.
God, from what I can remember, Edgewatch was one of those experiences this week where I took the big mass combat and I split it into separate scenes. So we went through a round of combat with the big demon out in the bay of Absalom, and it's coming closer, and there's a bunch of rocks flying around, shooting lightning, doom dancing around. And then we go through a round of combat, and then we go earlier that week, player B. This is a thing that happened, and there were a couple of other PCs around, but not this other PC here. So in one scene, you were not present there, and others were. Was this the boardwalk?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I'm rather proud of this, and it's all coming back to me now. I've had a rough week. My brain is nothing right now. But so I ran this session where I took like a week's worth of material in game, and it was some emotionally gripping stuff. I think one of the players' character is a cop, right? And he convinced the other guys to take his family to the carnival so he could go to work. So that was a fun little emotional reveal. The family carnival stuff was happening above the boardwalk, and that was scene 1. So we go through the combat with the demon, and then earlier that week, you guys went to the carnival, and we're above the boardwalk, and we're in line, and everybody's got sun beating down on them. And where's the conflict? Well, the conflict was the little girl, the daughter. She needed to go to the bathroom, so one of you guys had to get her out to the porta potties and back. And we're already at the front of the line. We've been in for like 2 hours at this point. And we're trying to get to the petting zoo with trolls and other things in there. And as you, a couple of you went through that experience, you encountered NPCs that I'm seeding for future problems. There was some flying. There was some, hey, you can't fly around above here even though you're level 7. No flying above carnival grounds. This is controlled airspace kind of stuff. I tried to, bring a little bit of our reality into it. For relatability. So all of that was going on, and it was, I felt it was fun, it was fresh, it was cute, low stakes, girls got to go pee-pee, right? And then we got to get back to line and go ride the troll.
Yeah.
But underneath the boardwalk, the other half of the adventuring party was trying to find out the source of the incoming drugs and the local gangs who are running the drugs through the festival atmosphere. So above, it's all hunky-dory and everybody's got hot dogs and popcorn. And down below, it's like homeless camps in Skid Row. And they encounter somebody overdosing in real time. And there's a bunch of walrus-like creatures called slurks that come up and they eat the bodies, like pigs in a sty in every crime movie we've ever seen. And a number of those people were from one of the player characters' backgrounds, going all the way back like decades. So that I got to introduce that player to characters that player didn't know about, and I'm seeding for future bad things to occur. So it was a lot of getting to meet the new NPCs coming around for Ajax, our rogue specifically. This is his book we're dealing with. So we've got the demon fight that we're doing in waves, and we break it up with scenes going earlier this week, later this week, to kind of shift you around the chronology, because I can't have you guys guessing too accurately as to where we are on the timeline yet. You'll figure out all my shit if I do that. So under the boardwalk, over the boardwalk, the big event with the demon, and we finally got the big reveal on what the demon assault on Absalom was. Do you remember what it was?
I do. It was all an illusion.
It was an illusion, yeah.
Yeah, it was a reenactment.
Civil War reenactment.
Yeah, of like this giant fight that happened when demons attacked The city of Absalom.
Yeah, something called the Black Echelon Uprising and the Demon Flesh Siege. It was sort of like a Absalom's acting troupe of bards, druids, and wizards are here to present what that would have looked like if they had attacked from the ocean.
And what was interesting is
north of the city.
Our characters knew what was going on. We knew that we were acting.
The player characters knew, yes.
But the players themselves didn't.
We're in the dark, right?
Exactly. And that was a really interesting, that's like a reverse juxtaposition that you can only get in a TTRPG.
Yeah, I was kind of playing with that. And this entire thing took place over 3 gaming sessions, I think. And
Two?
It was 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Let's say it was 2.
Yeah, I think so.
And in the first one, I actually pulled one of the 5 of you into the living room and said, okay, here's the thing. This guy that you saved from certain death from a demon, you scooped him up out of the water and you're flying him to safety. He leans in close to you and says, man, you guys are doing such a great job. Thanks for letting me do this with you. And the player just looked at me and he's like, I don't understand what's going on, right? The player does. Yeah. And so I went forward a little bit. When they said that you guys, Edgewatch was coming on to help the troop do this, Civil War type reenactment, and then I was asked to join. I was just over the moon. This is just too cool. I'm going to have stories to tell forever. And then the player was like, you son of a bitch. Okay. I'll tell you what, that's fine.
Yeah,
but by the end of this, I want one specific thing to happen.
Okay.
You know what that one thing was?
What?
When the final cannonball blast goes and blows the hole through the 50-foot tall demon.
Oh, the pinata
it needs to be confetti and candy that pops out of the cannon.
That wasn't your idea?
That was Jacques' idea.
Of course it was. Yeah. Of course it was. That's
so
amazing.
it was a real cool bit of, misdirection and juxtaposition, to use your word, of low stakes scenes with high stakes scenes with a groundbreakingly, massively high stakes scene. That was all a lie.
Exactly. That was a
all
pinata
3
at the
of
end.
those plates I was spinning for 2 complete sessions, trying to keep you guys just like a 50-foot demon crushing all of these people and blowing buildings down. What the fuck can we do against this? Eric, we can't. This isn't a severe encounter. This is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? There's no way this math works. Come on, guys, trust me.
Yeah.
I haven't led you astray yet, have I? So it was exciting for me, and I can't believe I completely spaced that until like 10 minutes ago.
We sat down. I mean, it's been a long week, man.
It's funny how that works.
It's been a long week. Yeah, I had this great moment in that scene where it was like a giant 50-foot demon with like a stomach in its chest, or like a mouth in its stomach chest, and it went to grab me and like swallow my character whole, and I was like peak power at this point.
I wanted to be pissed in this moment.
My psychic had unleashed their psyche, and I just dropped I had dropped the hammer basically because of I casted a really cool spell and it landed, and it came straight for me, and I finally got to use one of my favorite spells that I haven't had the opportunity.
About the spell, because I didn't see this coming at all.
So I think it's called Wooden Substitution or something like that. It reminds me of Substitute from Pokemon, where you create a little doll and the Pokemon attacks the doll. Basically what happens is you cast a spell as a reaction and you jaunt over like 10 feet and you create a wooden reconstruction of yourself in midair that takes the hit. The demon attacked the wooden substitution, and the substitution survived.
I rolled a fucking 20 on the die to do this, and then you pop that off.
Yeah. So I jumped out of the way, and then Eric rolled garbage damage and couldn't break through all of the hardness and like didn't even destroy the substitute.
When
which
I roll
hilarious.
a crit, I roll minimal damage. It's just the laws of the universe.
How it works.
But it was cinematically amazing. I was so impressed I couldn't remain pissed for long. It was fucking ridiculous.
I was so happy to finally cast
I feel like all the players had really cool, juicy moments in individual scenes across the whole 2-session adventure. So now I got to run this thing in a couple of days coming up this weekend. And we went through all of my material. I was expecting to have more to do.
Oh, really?
And I had to prep for this video. So I'm not ready for Edgewatch this week.
Well, he's behind the 8 ball.
But we'll figure it out. We always do.
Yeah.
So that's what we did between Kingmaker and Edgewatch.
Sweet. So let's jump into today's topic.
We have
Howl of the Wild top 10. In usual fashion, we both pick 5. That adds up to being 10. That's a goblin 10. What I asked Eric to do is basically pick 4 categories. We had 4 categories. The book is generally broken up into 4 categories. You've got new ancestries, and then you've got a bunch of class-based player options.
Yep.
And then you've got some new items, bunch of new items and stuff like that, and then you got a bunch of new monsters.
Right.
So
I can't help but notice that you left lore out of that top 4 groupings.
it's a part of it, you know.
Okay,
It's like
all right.
it's
I hope so
sprinkled.
because this has lore up the ass.
It's
There's so much.
yeah.
This book has a lore enema.
The cool twist about this book is that they created a narrative from page 1.
Yeah,
where
it's
you're
pretty slick,
following
too.
an exploratory party, all made up of ancestries that are found in the book.
From this book.
Exactly. So they're basically riding on a Final Fantasy style sky ship with a literal like
big old 6-floor airship.
There's like literally an aquarium that the mermaid is the mermaid's room.
Yep.
Which is so cool.
It reminds me of Hellboy. What was that guy's name? Abe? The aquatic guy had his own fish tank.
Yeah, absolutely. So we basically follow this troop around, and all the sidebars and all like the little side notes and stuff about things are the explorers explaining the world to us as if we're reading like a book of like
it's Darwin and the Galapagos.
Darwin and the Galapagos. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So the way they pulled it off was perfect. Like I don't think they could have done a better job.
It was damn near flawless as far as I was concerned.
I completely
only
agree.
spent like 3 days with this thing, with this PDF.
Yeah,
so
3 or 4.
I did a cursory run through it just so I can do this. I can't wait to go back and read the crunch entry for entry.
I got to spend.
I know you did.
Yeah, so so I took Saturday off of work and I basically read this book for 8 hours and I got halfway through it because I was taking notes on. I took notes on every single character option there is.
Yep.
I have is it good or bad? And like a 1 or 2 sentence, what do I think about every single character option?
Granular. Wow.
So it was the only way I could think about like, well, I was thinking to myself, I'm already reading it. I might as well just like put my thoughts down in Notion. Right. And I'm like, oh, well, I probably need a framework for this. Right. So I broke it up into the categories that we're using today. And then I started just adding in things and I was like copy pasting the name onto Notion and then : this sucks. Or like, I think one of my entries was literally meh. You know what I mean? Or others are like very good.
Every book is going to have
hyper powerful, or just something in the middle. Like.
Do you feel the overall like a power level offered in this book through the options, just like is a rough statement, is higher, equal to, or lower than the other 5 books in this Lost Omens series? Or is it too early to say?
I think we're beginning to see a little bit of power creep.
Okay, I'm curious about that.
There are some. Here's the problem. The options offered here, almost all of them are uncommon, at least, if not rare.
Okay.
So
I didn't check for the rarity either on any of the things I looked at.
So generally speaking, goblins. So we have common, uncommon, and rare, and then we have unique, the unique tag, which is like one of a kind. Common is the baseline power level. Uncommon is the next level up. Often uncommon options aren't any more powerful than common options, but they require you to be from a specific place or basically come up with a good reason to have had that experience or that interaction with the world. Exactly. Yeah. It's uncommon is basically just GM buy-in. Rare is literally, this is more powerful. Rare options are just more powerful. The best example, the most simple and granular example I can give is backgrounds. Rare backgrounds give you literally everything a normal background gives you, and then one extra ability every single time. It gives you one extra really cool thing that you get to do. And that's the greatest example of what rare means. It's a normal option plus one.
And as we know in Pathfinder, +1 is everything.
+1 is everything. And when we say +1, we don't necessarily mean like a +1 to something, but we mean an extra thing.
Right. Yep.
So like some of these options in the book are rare. So it's hard for you to couch the power of these items with the rare tag, because they're beginning to use the rare tag more and more. Rare is becoming less rare in a lot of ways.
Something I got to keep an eye out when I read this thing a second time.
Exactly. And the uncommon tag as well. But like I said, the uncommon tag generally doesn't
futz with the math too much.
But this is, maybe it's just my 2-day reading, but I saw some uncommonly tagged things that seemed at face value a little more powerful than I expected them to be.
Maybe there's future errata on the horizon.
Oh no, there's definitely, this book has got a couple moments.
I've been reading that
in it that are like, guys, what are we doing?
All right, I can't wait to see it. I think we've got a top 10 list to get through.
Absolutely.
And people tell us that we talk too much. So
it's a long form podcast. Right. What are you gonna do?
I would love to get into some honorable mentions if there's nothing else.
Absolutely. Do you want to do honorable mentions when we hit each category, or do you want to do them all at once?
I'm good with all at once. Mine are pretty short and sweet, not like previous videos here. You want to do a 1 for 1? You want me to just read my 3 out?
1 for 1. Let's go.
Okay, cool. First one is, you brought it up already, the map of the Zoetrope.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the airship that we're using as we go through this book. This is our base of operation, our sky headquarters. It's
sometimes our sea headquarters.
Right.
One of the great pictures in the book. I'm pointing at the book that doesn't exist. I don't have it yet.
Right.
It's literally, it had crash landed and in the water, and they were like,
the art is so good.
Grabbing the salvage and pulling it back in.
Yeah. I like how you slipped the word salvage in there.
Yeah.
But the map of the Zoetrope, it's a 6-deck airship. And I came across it in the very, very, very early part of the book. I think it's like in the first 10 pages or so. It's one of the first things you come across. And I'm like, that is really cool. And then I squinted because I'm reading this damn thing on my phone, right?
Yeah.
And I went, expand.
Enhance.
It's gridded.
Yeah, it's gridded.
This is a battle grid. You gave me something I can put on my table. I'm going to go down to Office Depot, and then there was a little line underneath that image that said, hey, check out page 200 and something
the back of
for
the book.
expanded one.
Yep.
All 6 levels of this airship. I get to go to Office Depot and blow it up in full color and throw it on my table and say, hey guys, this is your Final Fantasy II style airship. Or
absolutely.
Your, whatever.
Final Fantasy anything at this point. Yeah.
But and it reminded me of like, what was it, Spelljammer, where D&D came out with like the sweet ass models, and it was an airship and it had little battle grids on it, and you could have square based combat. You could take this cool airship and do tactical combat. That's one step away from one of my Grail experiences, which is sort of like ship to ship aerial combat, tactically, 3-dimensionally.
That's interesting. As in,
and
not
we're
Starfinder, ship to ship combat.
I don't know if Starfinder is going to do it that way.
Yeah,
because we don't really.
We'll see.
We don't. They didn't do it in Starfinder First Edition.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And for Starfinder First Edition, the ship is its own piece on the grid.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of like rolls checks to make it better and stuff like that.
So the reason why this is my number 1 honorable mention is fucking gorgeous. It's full color. You got the menagerie takes up half of the giant floor. And you just, it feels like a lived in document, full color. And you can hand it to your players and say, okay, where are you guys on this ship?
This is pretty cool.
Where do you sleep? Where are your quarters?
Exactly.
What are you responsible for? And then being a sneaky GM, I can start slipping monsters in there and slipping items in there and slipping plots in there.
And you can also just like gut it and replace a lot of the pieces. Like this gives you the map for any airship of its general size, and you can like reformat any of them.
I want to see Pathfinder Infinite. I just want to see like a document of 12 different airships, different kinds for different environments.
Maps. That'd be sick.
Rage of Elements. When you're going through the different elemental planes, you're gonna have different kinds of ships.
Absolutely.
One might have a massive drill on it. Another one, water bubbles, whatever.
Totally.
So that's my one. How many of these do you have? I don't want to take up too much time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But
Do two at a time. Make them quick.
All right, cool. So we're gonna hit items because they're probably the easiest. There are some really strong, 2 specifically really strong items in this book. The Amphisbiana hand wraps.
Half of this shit is unpronounceable again, not because they're making up words, but because they're using scientific words to introduce into the Pathfinder
which lexicon. I think is pretty cool. Yeah. These are hand wraps that give you like, I think it just makes your attacks, your unarmed strikes piercing, but it has like a once per hour ability that allows you to get the twin slice or whatever that a fighter feat has.
Right.
But just on an item. So now any martial class once per hour can use the twin slice feat, which is...
And it's not a talisman. It's an item you can use.
It's an item. It's a reusable item. It's a hand wraps.
Wow. Okay.
So it's literally make 2 attacks, and your BA in your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to both of them, and then it applies afterwards, which is that's just powerful. And it's like a 6th level item or something like that. It's
Okay.
like not even unobtainable. It even says in the thing that you can add more basic runes to it to make it better over time. So
this is an honorable mention because it stands out or because you like it?
It's an honorable mention because it's strong.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go full Robert, a full, try hard and
Never
just
go full Robert.
Pick the strong stuff because, that's a little too on brand. I got to keep you goblins guessing.
Scale it back a bit.
Exactly.
Come join the rest of us, please.
The other item is in the similar vein. It's called the split head bow. This is a little more easy to pronounce. It's a bow that's just really good. It has it basically is a bow made of like hydras or like the flesh of hydras, and allows you to shoot like
I did see that.
multiple attacks at a time. When you look at the math, it's just really good for any archer. It's just might just
like
be
so good. Why would you not use it on every archer you ever do?
Yeah,
kind of good.
It's borderline that. Like, so long as if you're playing a fighter, there's good reasons not to take this because they basically took fighter feats and stapled them to the bow.
Okay.
But if you're not a fighter, if you're a rogue who has a target lined up that's flat-footed or whatever they call it now, there's like literally no reason to take this because off guard. Yeah, because you just like triple shot them out of nowhere. Yeah. And it's just like, excuse me? Yeah. That's a fighter feat, sir? You're
what are you doing in my
excuse
item?
me, sir, this is a Wendy's. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, those are my two.
We don't do caviar at Wendy's.
Those are 2 honorable mentions I have for items. I've got 2 more honorable mentions, but I'll let you go next.
All right, so I'm going to go the other direction to the art direction in this book. The art is so good in this book.
It really is.
And when I say it's so good in this book, what I mean is they use the same subjects and then they couch them in new artistic context. So it feels like you're looking at a fresh, original piece of art that you haven't seen yet. And one of them was the art for Lini and Dragumi. That's the iconic druid. I think she's a gnome, green-haired gnome with the green spotted leopard cat thing. And they're doing the primal chorus ability. And it's so adorably cute. And they're both just like, oh.
Yep.
She's sitting on top of the cat, and they're both just sort of howling.
Yeah.
And the ability itself is designed to call out the primal chorus. And if there are any other creatures with the beast trait in the vicinity, they do their little savey save and they join the howl. And you can kind of do a spot check and find out how many of them are in the vicinity, whatever that range is. But it's specifically the art. It's just adorable. And when we did one of these videos, I think it was on Rage of Elements, and we talked about the lava otter, I think it was.
Lava otter, Rage of Elements.
It's just freaking adorable.
It is so good.
You know, Starfinder has a few of those too, just like the cuddly art.
I will say there's a creature in this book they tried making cute, and it's creepy.
It might be another one of my honorable mentions. I don't know, but
is it the cute pink one? Because
no, it's not.
No, there's like I can't remember what the creature name was. I can find it if I look at the PDF, but I don't have it up right now. But it's like I saw the art and I was like, this artist did their best to make this cute, and because of that, it has like it went too far, and now it's in the chasm of like Uncanny Valley. Yeah, exactly. Something about it makes me think like
I want to hear what this is when we get to that. But my number 2, art for Lini and Dragumi doing primal chorus. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out on one of the finer things this hobby has to offer. You're
absolutely. 2 more items. Grafts in general are a cool idea. Basically, it's like, hey, you harvest the organs of other creatures and then sew them onto your body to give you abilities. It's basically a magical item, and you make like a medicine check to put it on you. And I wasn't too impressed by the actual items they created yet, but the potential, the story potential is there. You know, I can just imagine a mad scientist grafting a creature together, and it's basically like you take
it's design space they're blowing open.
Exactly. It's design space. That's cool. But the items themselves, none of them really impressed me. Yeah. That's why I didn't end up picking any of them.
Okay.
And then the blood gorger scythe. Imagine a scythe.
That sounds so fucking metal.
It's so fucking metal. It's a scythe made from the wood of a blood gorger, I guess, which is a tree that drinks blood.
Okay.
So it's a scythe made out of a tree. And what you can do is you can hit someone with the scythe and then break off a splinter in them. And then the splinter starts growing a tree in combat. And if it does it long enough, it is now a fully fledged tree, like sapling that's grown off of this person.
Okay, that's awesome.
And then you get to let it attack that person. Like, this was so close to being my like the item I chose.
The alien pops out of your chest and it starts doing this on you.
Literally.
That's fabulous. I love it.
Yeah. So just imagine how cool the fucking item I chose is in comparison. So yeah, those are 2 more honorable mentions. You got one more?
My final one, number 3, is a couple of creatures in here. I don't think I had any creatures on my top 5 list, so I had to put one of them at least in my honorable mentions.
It was literally a category, Eric.
I
it was
know.
a category. You didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
There's rules, Eric.
Well, you know what they say. So the Thrunosaurus Rex was the first one. It's a dinosaur, but it's not just any dinosaur. It's like a devil Chilaxian dinosaur. You take a dinosaur egg, Tyrannosaurus Rex, you throw devil energy at it, and then you let it hatch and you get a Thrunosaurus Rex. I don't care about the stat block. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it does its thing.
Fucking awesome,
art
Eric. It's
is
fucking
cool,
awesome.
But it looks like a pygmy dinosaur because the perspective, it's just off. It looked a little ridiculous. But the reason why I bring it up is I almost feel like I want that to be a template you can apply to all dinosaurs. Like a devil template to apply to it, Thrunosaurus Rex. Do the same thing for Abyssal. Do the same thing for Celestial.
Totally.
I kind of want what they did elsewhere in this book in terms of altering abilities for creatures to make them other. And Thrunosaurus Rex felt like that's what they tried to do, but it's one singular entry in stat block. I can't use that for the rest of my Bestiaria 1, 2, 3, and all of my other, adventure paths that I've been collecting up to this point. So Thrunosaurus Rex is one of 2 examples of that. The second one is the Stony Goat. Did you read the Stony Goat?
Yes.
I love the Stony Goat.
Really?
Fight, flight, or freeze. Freeze. And you take damage and you freeze and you turn to stone.
Right.
And then, of course, the next time you get hit, less damage.
It's literally red light, green light, the monster.
Yeah, it is. It is. I just love that idea. So it's just like, oh no, I got hit. Stone. We're so accustomed in tabletop role-playing games, especially in the D&D sphere, Pathfinder sphere, we're like petrification, stone, gorgons, cockatrices, that's basilisk, that's the area that stuff lives in.
Yeah.
This is just a safety mechanism. That's different.
Yeah,
I felt that was a really cool subversion of the turning a creature to stone.
Absolutely.
Trope that we've known for 40 years, but now we get it in this really whimsical way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my 3 honorable mentions.
Hell yeah. My last one is just the I've got the Prisma Hydra in here.
Prisma Hydra. Okay.
It's a Hydra where the stumps of its heads that have been cut off, it creates illusions of, and it uses those to attack people.
Okay.
How cool is that? That's just cool.
Okay.
The art was badass. I was like, what is this ghost Hydra?
They really went out on the Hydras for this thing.
I loved
Manticores
it.
and Hydras and some of the classic monsters.
Yeah.
They really branched them out.
Basilisk,
which
Royal
is
Basilisk.
cool because we already have a monster core, and that's what they were supposed to do there.
Exactly.
And they use this as an opportunity to blow out their monster core a bit. Super smart idea.
I love it. And then were creatures. I almost put were creatures on my as my monster
Your
choice.
monster pick?
But the one I chose is just it's the coolest monster in the
Did
entire
you go
book.
full Robert?
I went full Robert this time. The 10-year-old Robert in me chose my top 10 list. So were creatures, they gave us more than just werewolves and bears. They gave us like moose.
The moose.
Sharks.
Yeah. And if anybody's ever encountered a moose in the wild, you haven't, because you'd be dead.
They're terrifyingly huge.
Yeah.
They're massive
And they're
creatures.
aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. They're territorial as fuck.
Weremoose sounds goofy and dumb because we watch Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
They are not goofy and dumb.
They are literally like 2 tons of fuck you and meat.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous. They're like 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall monsters. I think they're technically considered megafauna. That's how big they are. People don't realize they're almost elephant sized and they live in America.
Yeah.
Like they're in Alaska.
There's a couple of role-playing games out there and miniature war games that deal with sort of like this gothic colonial, setting.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of a weremoose in that setting.
Absolutely.
That's kind of exciting for
Terrifying.
me. I think of Assassin's Creed 3, but make it gothic.
Yeah, totally.
Weremoose. Terrifying.
So yeah, those are our honorable mentions.
Yeah. What's this topic about again? Are we doing a top 5?
Yeah, we're top 10. Top 10, I swear. So those are our honorable mentions. We're going to jump right into the top. What is the best ancestry? Well, the 10-year-old in me almost said Minotaur because Minotaurs are badass.
Sure.
But my little bug people.
Oh, yeah.
The Cirkies won my heart.
Yeah.
They won my heart and my soul. So basically, they are
against this.
They are bug creatures, subterranean bug humanoid creatures who start in a larval stage that feed on magic. So the whole thing is they eat magic.
Why don't you just call them what they are? They're magic dung beetles.
I never picked up the dung beetle reference, but I can see it now.
All of the art, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And one of the abilities,
Yeah, okay. But they're cute little beetles. They're cute little grubs. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they eat magic. You pick like one of the 4 flavors of magic, pun intended. And you're basically tied to that magical sphere. And then you pick your heritage, and your heritage gives you 1 ability and then 2 other abilities. But those 2 other abilities aren't unlocked until you pick up an ancestry feat at level 9. So from like a building perspective, it was really cool because it kind of forces the player to choose their first heritage intentionally based on the cooler options you get later. And I love that because that's something you already do. Most players already do, but it's not obvious. And it's not obvious to like a brand new player to the game who doesn't realize that some heritages are tied to feats later. And the only way for you to get those feats later are to have this heritage. So I thought it was really cool that they like kind of bundled them all up at the front and they made it incredibly thematic. Yeah. Also, Cirkies don't have to eat. They just have to absorb magic. So long as they're not in like a place that has no magic, they don't need to eat or drink water.
Right.
Which is pretty neat.
In peace. We will not be a drain on your economy.
Literally.
Do you think that they did this? What do you call them? The Cirkies?
Cirkies. Yeah, they're called Cirkies. Okay,
I'll take your word for it.
Cirkies? I don't know.
Yeah. Is this the Sheeran from Starfinder? Because Starfinder is getting a 2nd edition and they're getting ready to kind of like merge the sets.
Okay, so
we have
like
bug people in space. We now have playable bug people in
So every edition of of D&D has had bug people.
That's where I was going next. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Thrycreen and Dark Sun are the ones I'm thinking of.
Thrycreen is exactly where I was going to. But the Thrycreen were OP because it was like, I'm just going to make bug people.
As they should have been.
With 4 arms. And you get to wield 4 weapons or 2 fucking 2-handed weapons. It was just like the most broken garbage you've ever heard.
We're going to have that when Starfinder 2e comes again because there's a 6-armed race out
Exactly.
there. 4-arm?
So the Cirkies are rare. They have the rare tag. And that's important.
Like that's going to matter to any of you guys out there.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Yeah, I know you goblins.
Everybody in the party is going to be one.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have a fucking hodgepodge of Cirkies.
Yeah, grab your ball of shit. We're rolling that way.
So Cirkies are rare. They get some pretty powerful abilities, natural attacks and stuff like that. But the evolutions is what they're called that are tied to their heritage that you choose are some of the really powerful stuff. Like one of them gives you fly at level 9, which doesn't sound like much, but like flying at level 9 as an ancestry feat, kind of dope. And you cast the fly spell. You don't fly. You don't have permanent wings. That's something that's reserved for like level 15.
Sure.
But it's still getting it on an ancestry, this ancillary chain of abilities.
Would have spent on that particular resource at level 7. You can now spend elsewhere.
Goblins get climb for reference. They get a climb speed. Okay. So for you to be able to cast fly like once per day or once per hour or something like that is like insane.
Yeah. Do they balance that out, or is that just the basic +1 thing that they get?
I think it's
rare?
Just the kind of basic +1. This is the rare tax or the rare.
What's the opposite of the tax?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Privilege.
You're the economy guy.
It's the rare privilege. Exactly. TM. Some of these abilities, I'm not going to go through every one of the abilities. Y'all can read the book, and it'll be on Archives of Nethes eventually. But one of them is really good, and we're gonna talk about it. Consume magic. So basically, when you make your Circe, you basically pick one of the schools of magic, and that's like the magic you feed on.
Okay.
There's this ability, I believe it's a 9th level ability. There's some very powerful 9th level abilities. Especially the Circe has a powerful one, which is what I'm about to talk about. But the frickin' mermaid has some of the most busted 9th level feats I've ever seen. It's like every single one of them is a banger. And for that reason alone, I almost chose them as my number one thing. That my partner loves mermaids, and I was hard pressed not to pick the mermaid.
I will be talking about mermaids soon.
Absolutely. But yeah, 9th level mermaid feats.
When you're flopping around on the ground, you should have good 9th level shit. That's my argument.
Absolutely. So basically, consume magic allows you to like eat someone's spell. You can literally do a counteract check.
Sure.
Quite literally eat the spell, and it gives you indigestion for 1 round. So like mechanically powerful. From a fluff perspective, incredible. Like a spicy meatball, literally, because I just ate a fireball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Circes are like the perfect culmination of good mechanics writing, powerful chassis, but also like all of them are thematic and cool. They like literally create little magical wings or little magical claws that allow them to dig around, stuff like that. I'm hot on Circes. I might be making one in the future. Who knows?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's my pick for the ancestries Circes.
Okay. We decided already that I cheated on my 5. So what is the name of this category?
Oh my God. You didn't even, I gave you a structure, Eric. It's ancestries.
Okay. So for my number 5 in the category of ancestries, I chose ancestries.
Oh my God.
As a whole.
That's not.
I'm going to pick one. So the one I'm going to pick specifically is the awakened animal.
Okay, yeah, awakened animal.
It's a crowd favorite. People have been crying for awakened animals for many, many, many moons.
Absolutely, yeah. All the furries, and your dirty porn.
It's funny. That's my 4th bullet point. Is just furries! Exclamation point. So, why is this my number 5? I think that's worth diving into, and it's not for a crunch reason. Not like anybody's surprised. Ancestries awakened animal. You can tell anthropomorphic stories now in a way that you couldn't before.
Absolutely.
Without having to hand wave the shit out of everything. Stories like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. For those of you who've seen it, there's just this really cool football match out there on the field. And you have the lion kicking the soccer ball around. Football, depending on where you are in the world. And it just gets like, that scene gets scary at the end. Everybody's having a good time. We're all jocks and we're exhibiting our masculine energy and we're doing sports. Meanwhile, we're trying to get that piece of treasure off of the, I think it was some medallion or something around the Lion King's neck. And that entire scene is sort of like just fraught with tension. And there's a bunch of scary ass 6 foot tall and taller animals running around. A really big mean bear, a warthog, that sort of thing. And by the end of that entire scene, we pocket the treasure, we GTFO, and they find out. And they start storming the gates trying to get it back. And it scared me. I had nightmares as a child over it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So Bed Knobs and Broomsticks is like a 1960s, 70s era
it's all right.
Walt Disney movie.
Before my time.
Yeah, it's formative for a lot of us. So anthropomorphic stories like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, Watership Down, speaking of scary as fuck, also had nightmares. Your Circes for A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
And anthropomorphic awakened animals can also tell those kind of stories. Care Bears.
Eric. What the?
An entire adventuring group of Kineticist Care Bears.
Are you just going to say Teletubbies next?
No, because I don't understand Teletubbies. Okay. That came after my time.
Okay.
But like, bear with me here. The idea of various Care Bears.
Bear with you?
Yeah. Hey, you're not the only one with some tricks. But you know, the Care Bears were all about emotions, right? Well, those can reflect elements too.
Absolutely.
So each one is a, Kineticist. Kineticist Care Bears. That's my pitch. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
And I know My Little Pony already has a TTRPG recently, but you can do that here. You know, just take the centaurs and ponyify them. Awakened animals can tell anthropomorphic stories in ways that we just couldn't prior to this book's release in Pathfinder Second Edition, at least not without a lot of hand waving.
Yeah.
I think I can't understate that enough. My next example of the awakened animal, Greek mythological stories. You brought up the minotaurs. There's the centaurs. We have the mermaids. The sirens in Greek mythology. Like all of these creatures. Even the circas. You can probably, port them to one of the mythic critters. We can finally tell Greek mythological stories. I think we have Nagas in a previous book, Impossible Lands, if I remember right.
As a playable ancestry?
As a playable ancestry, yeah. It's either an archetype or maybe not an ancestry, an archetype or a heritage or something. But I vaguely remember like Lamias or Nagas.
Okay.
It's snake bodies with the human torsos and snake everything south.
Interesting. Okay.
So I want my Cyclops and I want my Satyrs, and then I will have my Grail game for Greek mythology.
Absolutely.
That I can play in Pathfinder Second Edition. That I don't have to go back to D&D 5th Edition. To do the what was it called? Dragon Lords of the something something. I want my Greek myths. I want my anthropomorphic stories. Disney's Robin Hood. We can do that now.
Yeah, totally.
And that's I think that's worth saying, worth talking about.
Absolutely.
Third bullet point on that, and then I'll shut up for a bit.
Oh, you're good.
You can tell aquatic stories.
So Athamaru is the one ancestor we haven't mentioned yet.
Yep.
And those are literally the fish
They're
people.
Kuatoa of this edition.
Kuatoa?
Yeah, they're you had traditionally two kinds of fish folk in D&D. One was the Lokothoth and the other was the Kuatoa.
Okay.
And the Kuatoa were basically, fish.
They got fish
and
heads.
the Lokotha were, I don't know what you call them. They're more like eel-like. Bipedal eels versus bipedal koi.
Okay, gotcha.
So Kuatoa are typically like Underdarky. They hang out in drow kind of settings, that sort of thing. But we get to play them now. But they made them super cool.
They're best friends with eels?
They're best friends with the eels.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Pink illustration you were talking before, was it one of these?
No,
It's a different one entirely. I'm going to be guessing for the rest of this episode.
I'm going to have to find it.
So aquatic stories with Athamaru, like the Little Mermaid. You can use the awakened animal and were creatures and Athamaru to fill out an aquatic setting
You
campaign.
can literally play My Little Mermaid or the Little Mermaid as an adventure.
Right, you can. And guess what? If you throw Book of the Dead in the mix, imagine My Little Mermaid, where Ursula is also a ghoul, in addition to all these things we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Where King Triton is a lich, in addition to all the things we're talking about. You can take all 6 of the books in the Lost Omens, whatever product line this thing is called, Dark Archives, Rage of Elements, Book of the Dead, Secrets of Magic, Guns and Gears, and Howl of the Wild. And you can take stories that we're so familiar with and then shift them 5 degrees. And it's like a fresh, brand new thing.
Absolutely.
Watership Down with Guns and Gears. Oh my God, I'm ready for this. A Jackrabbit Gunslinger.
Jackrabbit Gunslinger. Okay.
That's a skeleton?
I am slowly but surely
You're coming around on
warming
G&G,
up to G&G.
Yeah. We'll get there.
They also this is this is unrelated to the book entirely, but Paizo just released a bunch of errata for the game that they put in like a little blog. I
haven't checked it out yet.
I tried checking it out, and they made it so hard to decipher what was new and what was old that I emailed the marketing team, and I was like, "Hey, what? I would like to make a video for your game. Can you please give me like a list,
side by side or something?"
Yeah, or something. And they're like, "We use a program that's weird, but I'll tell you what books that it's from." That was the whole email.
Right.
And I was like,
just sift through that 200 pages worth of content.
Just do your thing. You know what I mean? And I was really disappointed.
Aww.
But it is what it is.
I know people are doing that right now out there. They're just typing away and generating these lists. So for ancestries, the category, specifically the awakened animal, but all of the ancestries in here, all allow you to tell stories that we just didn't have access to crunch-wise easily. And damn, man, the rest of my list is going to inform number 5.
Got it.
So it's all going to roll forward, man. It's all connected.
The reason that sidebar was even relevant is because they changed like a DC for the inventor, and they made the inventor way more powerful than they were before.
Yeah, because everybody was complaining about him before, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason it popped into my head. Anyway, ADHD brain activate. Yeah.
Well, what do you have for your number 4?
It's not pink. It's blue. It's blue. It's called the MARP. This thing. How is that not creepy? The MARP. It's so cute.
I didn't see that as creepy. I just saw that as sort of...
It's so cute. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
Yeah, check out the MARP. Is it 1A or 2?
It's MARP.
Google MARP. Check it out.
It
haunts Robert's
174.
dreams.
174. It just looks
Did
like
you feed one of those after midnight?
It looks like a gremlin. It looks like it's gonna. If I pour water on it, it's gonna turn evil.
Right.
You know, or melt.
A little Marp Mohawk.
Which one was it? Or it'll. I haven't
You
seen
don't
that
feed
movie.
it after midnight, and you don't throw it in water.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So
Culture.
These kids these days, they don't have any culture.
They don't got no culture. It's all Teletubbies now.
All Teletubbies now. All right. So
what's number 4?
we talked about ancestry.
Category.
The next category is player options. Now this is pretty.
So fucked. Go
this
ahead.
is pretty large.
Yeah.
Pretty large category.
Yeah.
This covers. They introduced a bunch of new archetypes, like 5 or 6 different archetypes. A lot of which were like, do martial arts as an animal, which is actually cool because like when you look at especially Chinese martial arts, less so in Japanese martial arts, but like traditional, that Tibetan, like North Chinese martial art, they have a lot of animal symbolism and animal stylings to them. I mean, the styles are like roughly translated, literally like tiger style, snake style, crane style, stuff like that. Like those are actually pulled from like Northern Chinese, like martial arts styles. So it's really cool that they
little animals get access to
these cool fighting styles.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Right. It's like, like fucking
we're back to awaken animal and telling animal stories.
Exactly.
It's all connected, man.
It's all connected, man.
All right. So am I going to go out and get a cup of coffee? Because I know you got pages on this particular topic.
I don't. I actually just picked one. Okay. And you might be surprised. But to get back to my original point, they also introduced some class options, like class feats and stuff like that. The druid feats and stuff like that.
Those were rad. Yeah.
The druid feats and the barbarian feats.
With that section.
They were
design space.
They were clearly made for barbarians, and they were like, "Oh, but druids should get this too, right? Yeah, totally." But it's like, why would you ever take a martial thing for a druid like that? Anyway, mechanically, it's so suboptimal that I question why anyone would actually make that choice in the first place. It tastes a little too much.
Beer.
It tastes a little too much like Pathfinder First Edition. It's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
All
right. We had that discussion in the Discord recently. So what I chose is called Devourer of Decay. It's a new witch patron.
Okay, sounds witchy.
Yeah. So it's a witch patron, and the reason I kind of fell in love with it originally is because it reminded me of a GSR thing we wrote recently. So in GSR we wrote this druid circle that was all about like the natural cycle of decay and consumption of dead things and bringing back new life and stuff like that.
If this story doesn't end with we did it before it was cool, I'm going to be disappointed.
There's a lot of that. Honestly, there's a lot of that in this book. All right, mister. But I love the direction they took on this, where they made it a witch patron, which to me, totally unexpected. I absolutely love the art that they have for the Knoll. Can't remember what they call them now, but the Knoll art, where it's like a Knoll witch casting a spell, like rapidly decomposing and creating mushrooms off of like a piece of meat. That was super cool. The art and like the culture that they were trying to represent, which, it was like if I remember, I can't remember exactly what it looked like, but it was like analogous to like some sort of culture that we know here in the real world, which I think is really neat. How they kind of call to those things, but they're not like direct one-to-ones. So that, no one gets, pissed off.
Yeah. They were trying to steer closer to a real world, mythological and cultural. How much rum is in these glasses?
There's rum in there.
You're fucking my vocabulary.
There's rum in there. So anyway, Devourer of Decay. It's a witch patron. It's mechanically very cool. If your opponent is less than half HP, whenever you cast a hex or whatever, you can automatically make them take a fortitude save, or they become sickened.
Okay.
Which is heckin' strong. Heckin' strong. So that's really cool. And then you have mycological malady, mycology mushrooms. It's a badass spell. The only issue with my mycological malady, it's a total tongue twister, is that it requires a touch. But if I remember correctly, it basically like hyper debuffs things if you get them within touch range. I don't have it open in front of me.
Sure.
I wrote notes saying fits in with this and is a badass spell. The touch range can be mitigated by using a familiar, but I didn't actually write what it does. Sure. It's a 2-action spell. Basically, you touch someone and it's a major debuff.
I was trying to picture like a witch grappler build, and it wasn't happening.
Well, you can do the hair touch thing. The cool thing about the familiar is that you can have the familiar go do it. And if they die, you get them back the next day.
Right. Boo-hoo.
So I really just loved how this tied into something we already wrote, and that made me kind of fonder for it because this is an idea I've wanted to see in the world, and they made it. Mm-hmm. And they did such a good job in an unexpected way. Mechanically, it is really solid. These are options players want to choose and do stuff in battle with, but also they're very, very closely tied thematically. And gosh darn, I would definitely run a witch of this patron and kind of like blend in some of this, really lean on the mushroom mycology side of things and make like a mushroom witch of sorts. You know what I mean? That's like forages for mushrooms and creates them with magic. Obviously, they have the primal tradition, so they're a primal witch. I love that. Pretty much all the witch options, I think all of them are all primal, which is cool because now we're actually seeing the witch grow into a class that isn't just like, it's an occult spellcaster, and if you want to do arcane or occult, here's your one option.
Right.
Now it's like, oh, this is closer to a sorcerer.
Right.
Where...
And again,
you have more
coming
options.
back to new design space.
Exactly.
So whatever the individual options are for all of these categories in this 240-page book, however long it is, I am less concerned with the strength and viability of each individual option than I am in the fact that they're finally creating design space and exploring it and blowing it out, because that means that the crowd, us out here in non-Paizo land, we all get to, throw stuff at Pathfinder Infinite for everybody to try at their tables to further flesh out that design space. So yay. You're
on the last episode
by the end of this.
On the last episode, Eric complained to me that he wasn't able to taste the bottle that I have sealed, saving for a special occasion. We ran out of that product. And before I take back this bottle of it to work so that we can give it to patrons and explain how good it is to them, I wanted Eric to be able to try it. This is our 5-year anniversary rum.
You're going to destroy me by the end of this.
I'll be fine, buddy.
Cheers.
Tell me about your number 4, Eric. What is the player option you chose?
God, I have to bounce between two here. I am going to...
nice and smoky.
I have a feeling you're going there next, so I'll do this one instead. Okay, so player option, but it's also a GM thing. It's the second half of it. All
okay.
Right? Were creature archetype.
Yep.
That's the player option.
It's totally player
also
option.
the were creature abilities that GMs have to throw on creatures throughout the bestiary.
Yeah.
So if you have like a badger and you want to make it a were creature, you can pop it on there. Template, exactly. Yep. The reason why, and this is my number 1. I was going to finish with this because I'm a little gothy boy at heart.
Yeah,
I always have been. I love my Ravenloft shit. Give me vampires and ghosts and goblins and golems and all that shit.
It's funny because like as a millennial, the first thing I think of when I think of werewolves is Twilight.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
So
culture.
These children in their culture.
It's sparkly vampires and Teletubbies.
And Teletubbies.
All the goddamn Teletubbies.
So tell me about these werewolves.
So these werewolves, it's kind of like a representative thing, a were creature. So were shark, werewolf, were piranha, were goat, were fleas, just the were creature archetype in general. It lets you tell gothic horror stories. The example you gave earlier in the episode here, you can be a were bat, bear, boar, crocodile, moose, rat, shark, tiger, wolf. You can do the beastkin versatile heritage that's offered in another book to fill that out.
Yeah.
If it's not one of those things I mentioned, crocodile, moose, rat, shark, whatever, stick the beastkin heritage in there and you can do it. The piranha.
You can skin it. Done.
You can skin it, right?
Yeah.
So before this, we're back to the anthropomorphic stories. You had to hand wave a lot of mechanics.
Yeah.
Now you just slap it on and done. We're ready to play
Absolutely.
in minutes. It takes no time at all once this stuff gets on a path builder. Gothic horror stories are important to me because we had 3 bestiaries before Monster Core came out, and there were a lot of undead. Sure, there always is. But it's the same undead. It's like ghoul.
Oh my God, Eric.
Vampire. Demon. what are they? They're like golems, vampire, undead, demons. Those are traditional Gothic categories of creatures. And when you're looking at 3 bestiaries, what percentage of those are full of Gothic creatures? You need to get targeted and specific with your selections. And God help you if one of them is 10 levels away from the actual stat block you need. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
Eric, this is probably already done in pop culture, and I know you know if it exists. Has there been like Gothic horror meets like Bayou?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Because I was just thinking to myself, like the swarm creature thing that's in here too, the swarm archetype. It's like you have like bugs that are symbiotic with you, and also the crocodile.
Sure.
A la alligator.
Yeah, the Southern
creature
Gothic is that genre.
That's a thing. Okay, cool.
It's a thing, yeah.
Cool.
And it's not like monsters stomping around. Swamp Thing, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing,
okay,
might be indicative of that. But in our fantasy stuff, there's games out there that are devoted to this kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Okay, cool.
So yeah, little Floridian alligator wrestler.
Oh, the first thing when I read the were creatures, I was like, dude, I gotta play a were alligator.
I know, right?
So bad. They even have the death roll in there, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that in real life, but I
would like to not.
Terrifying.
It's a goal of mine to never see that.
Well, you could just go to like. Anyway, you go to places in Florida, just see that.
Yeah. I'm bad with the Nature Channel. So I want to get to my real point here because this kind of it's the same point I'm going to make for every single one of my picks, regardless of what the crunch does in terms of is this viable, is this not viable, why would anybody pick this, why would they not? Yeah. This is just a fluff choice, a lore choice. Let's take all that aside. This book, more than any other in the series, feels to me that it's more about saying this is a design space we want to explore. Let's throw examples of it out. And these are sort of like test balloons. If people buy the damn thing, we'll do another follow-up book and we'll give you more. It's kind of like the magic tattoos that they just never really followed up on because not enough of us said, we want more of that, please. Instead,
we want more of that, please, Paizo people. Please. I know you're listening. Fucking magic tattoos, dude. I don't have any tattoos,
amazing.
But I would love some magical ones.
So the Gothic horror stories are... They're the bad guys. They're the monsters. They're the NPC, the BBEGs. That's where all the stat blocks for anything Gothic is typically that. Now we get to do it. We get to be the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh.
We get to be Hellboy. We get to be the monsters that bump back in the night. And that is such an exciting high fantasy power dream of mine to do.
Absolutely.
And it showed up in Howl of the Wild instead of Book of the Dead.
And it
did show up in Book of the Dead, but it was definitely more of an undead theme thing.
You're definitely not alone here. I feel like every Pathfinder player, you all want to be what did we call it? I used to call it the wackadoo player, but it's the player who wants, it's like when you're at a Pathfinder party.
My language.
Is it really?
Yeah.
But it's like you sit at a table full of 5 people and they all want to be some rare ancestry.
Everybody's the unique thing.
Exactly. And man, if this ain't a book for that, I don't know what is.
It really does. And that's actually another of my top 5 is probably where I think you're going. I want to finish this up here. Where creature abilities, where creature archetype, Gothic horror stories with all of those critters. You can combine all of everything that I just said with the undead creature adjustments from Book of the Dead to take that even a step further. So I've got my Were Piranha that I just put together using the stuff in this book. Maybe I use the Beastkin Heritage to kind of make that fully come out. But guess what? I can also enhance that by making him a lich when I get to the appropriate level. Maybe start out as a ghoul, and then take that lich dedication feat when I finally get there.
You can with the fish bones and all that stuff. That would be super cool.
So combining Howl of the Wild with Book of the Dead, I get a genre feel. By combining Howl of the Wild with Rage of Elements, I get a genre feel. Dark Archives, Guns and Gears, Secrets of Magic. If you take any 2 of these 6 books and you put them together, you've got a Venn diagram of amazing awesomeness. For Gothic shit and Howl of the Wild to come together, it's that Southern Gothic thing you were talking about. Totally. The weregators and boa constrictors that are blah 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 blah. We just said it. The awakened animals, awakened boa constrictors.
Totally.
And you could just goth the fuck up. I think that was it. That's my 3 bullet points. So Gothic stories,
Mhm.
we're the things that bump back in the night
Mm.
using crunch that we don't have to hand wave the hell out of anymore.
It's just
That's
right
exciting
there.
for me, especially for a guy who's kind of crunch light by nature.
And I mean, like,
It's
if
accessible.
if you're a
feasible.
DM at home and you're worried about the balance of all this, because we're talking about a lot of rare and uncommon options here.
Sure. At least they're labeled.
At least that's how they're labeled. I've said this once, I'll say it again. Do not worry about breaking your game.
I don't.
Worst case scenario, your players are a little more powerful than the book expects them to be.
Mhm.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Just throw more monsters at them.
Yeah, or adjust your difficulty.
Exactly. Just throw. I mean, like we all kind of agree a well-optimized party can handle severes
Mhm.
almost all day long for the most
Depends on
part.
how much beer is around the table.
And how many casters you have in the party.
Yeah.
If they're burning through
That's
spells,
true.
you know
That's
what I mean?
true.
But, just stretch that day out.
Yeah.
And then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's when they get to rest. It's when they get the long rest
Customizable.
and you do one fight a day. That's when it's super easy.
Yeah.
Because the game is built around you having multiple fights in
Right.
one day.
Just put a ticking clock. So
Yep.
there's ways to adjust because, again, it's customizable.
Absolutely.
And
All
I
right.
just love that. Category number 3.
Number 3, we have
3.
items. Category items. What's your favorite
I
item?
knew you were going there next.
Favorite item, Eric?
Okay.
I picked, it was hard. Like I already mentioned, a couple items are just purely badass, right? They're just, the bow, the hydra bow and the cloth snake bite
Yep.
things are just good.
Mhm.
Objectively good.
This is American Sign Language for snake bite things.
Snake bite things.
I'm with
But
you.
like Guns and Gears,
Mhm.
right? I've
favorite
been
book, I
playing
hear.
Final Fantasy for a long time.
So I've heard.
And I'm a bit of a fan.
Mhm.
And we all love the Gunblade. So when the Gunblade came out in the book you didn't put on, the best book, Eric. You didn't
Dragons of Autumn Twilight.
You didn't put Impossible Lands up
It's not,
here,
it's not a
Eric.
part of the series. That's why I didn't do it.
Okay, fine. But in here, we got the Gunblade
Yep.
for the Gunslinger.
Mhm.
And now they just made probably one of the coolest Gunblades I've ever heard of in my life. I'm not going to tell you the name. I'm going to read you the description. You're going to get the name at the end because the name of this weapon is so fucking badass to 10-year-old Robert that it needs to wait till the end. Ritually constructed from the bones of a nightmare.
Yep. I know this one. Yep. This is rad.
This item is a +1 striking rapier pistol. Guns and Gears 158. Thin wisps of dark smoke continually surround the red flecked blade. Activate Fuming Cloak. 2 actions. Manipulate frequency once per day. Okay, once per day. That's actually important because this is a powerful ability. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies germs of the audience, for 1 minute, this item continuously vents thick black smoke that creates concealment. 1 in 4 chance of you missing, Eric. 1 in 4 chance of you missing.
This fucking item is like an oracle unto itself.
In a 15-foot aura, 15 feet 3 squares around the gun's wielder. The wielder of this item can see through it, period. A creature that begins its turn in the area becomes sickened to DC 23 fortitude save negates. Hold on. So not only do I activate it once per day, not only is it badass, just lore-wise.
Aesthetically speaking.
Objectively
badass.
Objectively badass. It creates concealment automatically for me in an aura.
Mhm.
They could have stopped there. They could have stopped, but no.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, it's only uncommon, by the way. Not even rare. Not even rare. A creature that begins the turn in the area becomes sickened 2, DC 23 fort save negates. This will eventually get, absolutely worthless later, but who cares? And then is temporarily immune to the sickness for 1 minute. The wielder of this item, any creature currently holding its breath, and any creature immune to poison or is immune to the sicken effect. So if your DM is being super optimal, they can be like, I hold my breath, blah, or whatever, and you have to do the rules for that. But that's not fun. Fucking Nightmare's Lament is the item. 6th level item, Nightmare's Lament. The picture for this immediately caught my eye. I was like, Who is that sexy sword?
Yeah, there's some bitchin' artwork in there. That little cloak under there is no joke either.
This is the cloak's fucking cool too. This is the kind of item that Robert makes a gunslinger around just to wield it.
Yep.
Just to be like, hey DM, you can do whatever you want with my backstory, but at 6th level, we're killing a fucking
Nightmare Publishing.
We're killing a fucking nightmare. All right. And I'm going to use its bones to make this badass sword. All right. That's my deal with you, DM.
Yep. Demonic Monster Hunter. Bring it.
Need I say more?
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
No, that's pretty rad. The more I see stuff like this isn't the first time this has shown up.
Yeah.
I think Rage of Elements had some stuff similar to this. I'm sure Dark Archives did as well.
Favorite book.
Makes me want to go into the Battle Zoo. Which one was it? Battle Zoo Bestiary, the one with the Monster Hunter rules in it, where you kill monsters and you make items out of their bones and remains.
Oh, so there is a feat that already does that in this book I'm holding right here, Impossible Lands.
I got to get back into that series,
but
too much reading
there
to be done.
is a huge. So that's one feat, but there's a huge subsystem that Battle Zoo has published.
Yeah. And I keep going back to that when I think of items like the one you just did, because again, there's a rule set that supports the design space that Paizo is flirting with right now, and I'm hoping they just blow the hell out of it. Super well done. Super well done. Good choice.
Thank you.
So we're on items, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I'll do this one. This one totally qualifies.
What item
I'm going to
did you
stay
choose?
legal here. Mine is big game siege weapons.
Close, but no cigar, Eric. You have to pick one of them.
I forgot the name of it, and because I don't have the book here, which I usually use to do things on the fly.
Let's find it.
I wanted the one that drops stones on top of things from directly above. So you're flying over a rock, ROC, and you have your airship, and then you catapult, large boulders down on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Super stupid simple. Nothing complicated about it, but it fits with the power fantasy of aerial ballistas from above, not firing up and arcing out, but just sort of like bombs away, bombing down on the flying creatures beneath you. A bombardment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real dirigible fantasy in that I have in my head. I don't know if it comes from Pathfinder. I don't know what it comes from. But the idea of the big game siege weapon, specifically that one, it helps me with the idea of telling pulp kaiju stories. So Call of Cthulhu, for people who are in the know, is very much a expect to go insane, expect to go crazy, expect to feel disempowered. You're supposed to die. That's part of the fun. That's a buy-in you need to have.
Teak Dune?
But pulp, huh?
The Teak Dune?
That's Takedown. The Teak Dune.
Yeah.
But pulp Cthulhu is more of an Indiana Jones Cthulhu.
Totally.
Yeah, you're going to go insane, probably. You got bad things, they're going to eat you, because that's what happens in Cthulhu. But you're bare-knuckle brawling with them, and you have a fighting chance. So the idea of taking that, we have a fighting chance in a Godzilla movie.
With
Pulp
giant
kaiju,
rocks?
it needs to be a thing.
Pulp kaiju.
And I'm sure Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, the Adventure Path, did this.
Yeah.
There's an entire island with kaiju.
They did. It's chapter 2.
Yeah. However good or bad it is, I don't care. But that space right there. So big game siege weapons. Pulp kaiju stories. And I'm thinking Jurassic Park when I think this. I'm thinking Shadow of the Colossus, because we talked about it a million times. Airship stories are now more feasible without a bunch of hand waving. We have stat blocks for a bunch of different big game siege weapons you can throw on your airships. Final Fantasy, Star Wars, Firefly. You can tell those kinds of stories in this setting. And this idea of the big game siege weapons pairs really well with, again, the Guns and Gears book as well. So if you're going to take Howl of the Wild and focus on the airship exploration and aerial combat, you have ways we're going to talk about a little bit later in this video, probably coming up almost immediately, to make things more air-based. The rules are all there for it. You can throw these big game siege weapons in, and all of a sudden you got Guns and Gears where everything is a ranged weapon for the most part.
Yeah.
And cannons, and you can get that sort of like that steampunk, kaiju punk, aerial kaiju punk there's something there to that. And it's kind of like we're bringing the armada to the kaiju. And it's that's exciting. You can even, graft these fucking things onto a kaiju and then go kaiju to kaiju like a mech warrior game.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
A biological mech warrior thing. All of that is now possible without a bunch of hand waving because of this particular entry, the chapter for big game siege weapons.
Absolutely.
That's my argument for that. Specifically the Deek Dune.
The leak dune.
The takedown, the Teak Dune.
Teak Dune. Yeah, the Teak Dune. Yeah. What a funny name.
I think I stuck to your criteria.
No, you definitely got me there. You
item.
definitely, yeah. It's a small section, so I'm going to give you.
It's a very small section.
Yeah, it's a small section.
But I think it's worth noting because how many Pathfinder books have come out before this?
Absolutely.
Where are the ballistas? Where are the big game?
They're probably in like the treasure vaults or something. Every time I see a cool item that I'm like, wait, how the fuck have I not heard of this before? I see the tag on Archives and Ethics and it's like treasure vaults, page 50. I'm like, treasure vaults.
There's so much good stuff in there. We could do an entire video just on that book.
Absolutely. And we should. We absolutely should.
So that's really it for items. Pulp kaiju stories, airship stories. Pair this with guns and gears for maximal effect. That's my argument. And if you want to throw Dark Archives in there, is a third book. You get spooky X-Files-y, Aurora Borealis, kind of stuff because you're up there in the airship. There's weird shit going on in the sky, air currents.
Did you get to see the Aurora Borealis that happened here in Portland?
I didn't. It was 11:30 and I was driving out towards Hillsborough and I still couldn't see it.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't want to go all the way out to North Plains.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it either. We went out, we heard about it. We found out late the night after it happened, the day after it happened. And then we went out, we were out to like 2 a.m. way the fucking no man's land past Hillsborough, way out there, waiting for it, and nothing ever happened. I was so bummed. I was so bummed.
Got to go all the way out to like Norway and shit to see that.
Yeah, and it happened to us once randomly, and I didn't get to see it. Yeah. So anyway, that's the category. The next category is monsters.
Monsters. Okay, I'm ready for you.
And you kind of already touched on the monster.
You're going where creatures, aren't
you?
No, that's too bad.
We're going to be talking about Thrunosaurus Rex, baby.
You went there.
Absolutely.
You and your fucking Chilaxian nobles.
Dude, it's the 10-year-old in me is like, oh, they gave us Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's cool. The OMZ, which is our local
Red Trident.
The local museum, the science museum in our area, has a Tyrannosaurus Rex exhibit.
That's right. I just drove by that today.
Right now. Yeah. And I went to go see it about a week ago.
They're also doing sci-fi movies in a marathon.
Yeah. Bunch of really great ones on their like domed theater thing, which is super cool. So I reignited my love for dinosaurs going to that exhibit. And when I saw Tyrannosaurus Rex, I was like, oh, easy. I'm going to talk Tyrannosaurus on the podcast. And then I saw Thrunosaurus Rex.
So people know what a T-Rex is. What is a Thrunosaurus?
So imagine it's Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it's got ashy gray skin, and then little red hands and red feet, and then 2 big devil horns, and then in between them, a fucking ball of fire.
Infernal fire, hellfire.
It is basically the love child between some mad scientists experimenting on Tyrannosaurus Rex and trying to infuse them with demon or devil blood.
Who says alchemists are terrible builds?
Exactly. So they worked, and a couple of them got loose, of course. And you can literally find these.
Nature always finds a way.
You can literally find these in Chiliax per raw, like per the game's lore. You find them in Chiliax, which is terrifying, but also hilarious. You know what I mean? So let's talk about this monster. It's a 17th level monster. So you're probably never going to actually run into it as a party. But if you do, it could easily be the fun capstone to like a Jurassic Park style. Like imagine we tell Jurassic Park the movie, but it's owned by Chiliax. And they're really using it to cover up these mad experiments they've been doing, trying to create weapons for war to take over the world, right? At the end of the movie, at the end of the adventure, one of their mad experiments, the one that actually worked, Thrunosaurus Rex, is your responsibility to take down, because if not, he's going to get on a ship and go to New York
Absalom
and fucking blow everything up with his laser beam.
He has laser beams.
So Hellfire Blast, The Thrunosaurus channels sulfurous hellfire in one of 3 ways. It chooses the effect and can't use the same effect twice in a turn. It's got an AoE effect called Blistering Sun, 2d8 persistent fire damage. It's got choking fumes where it breathes sulfurous gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got a fucking fiery beam, my guy. Fucking dinosaurs with laser beams.
Freaking laser beams.
Freaking laser beams. Divine Fire Unholy, a 120-foot line of hellish flame erupts from the Thrunosaurus's eyes, dealing 60-10 fire damage, DC 38 basic reflex save. So that alone would be badass.
Mm-hmm.
Like freaking Tyrannosaurus with laser beams.
I should probably put that somewhere.
Yeah, get out of here, get out of here. But we're not done.
There's more?
We're not even done.
There's always more.
It's
This
a giant
book has a lot
Tyrannosaurus.
more.
It bites people. It's got the swallow whole action, which you love.
I love that one.
You know what I mean? Because it's fucking huge, right? It's also rare, which is important distinction here.
All right.
One of the ability that absolutely took me off guard. I was not expecting this at all. I was reading Frightful Presence. Okay, that makes sense. He scares people when you're around them, whatever. But I wasn't expecting instinctive teleportation. So this is a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex that teleports. Reaction trigger: the Thrunosaurus takes damage from a holy effect. The Thrunosaurus teleports to an open space within 60 feet it can see, along with any creatures it has swallowed whole. And it does that as a reaction to taking divine damage or holy damage or whatever. So just imagine you're in a fight. It's shooting freaking laser beams. It's emitting heat waves. It bites down on your the little gnome witch in your party. And then the other caster in the party slams it, finally figures out it's a devil, slams it with a magical divine spell,
Sure.
And it teleports with your friend swallowed inside 60 feet away.
Yep.
How cool. Like, that's a
rad.
movie. That's the pinnacle of a movie waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's beat for beat.
So Thrunosaurus Rex, that's my choice for the best monster in
and,
the book.
You know, Thrun in the Thrunosaurus Rex is the name of a noble house within the Pathfinder lore. So, like, a family paid money to have this thing made.
Mm-hmm.
I love that shit. I could eat that up for days. You just gave me an idea, like a Planet of the Apes, but dinosaurs. Awakened animal on dinosaurs.
Totally.
And that's the game. We're trying to survive, and everybody's hunting us because we're dinosaurs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Are we the dinosaurs, or is
we
the
are the
world
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs and we are people?
We are the dinosaurs, and we are in, because we're talking Pathfinder here, we're in Galarian.
Okay.
And, there's elves, there's dwarves, there's gnomes, there's humans,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sentient all of a sudden.
Oh.
We have awakened. And we're velociraptors and T-Rexes and Stegosauruses and Triceratops.
Totally.
And what's the adventure? I don't know. You tell me. You're the GM.
Mm-hmm.
Awakened animal.
Oh,
It blows open a lot of doors.
It really
on different
does.
stories.
It really does. Especially for like one shots. Like, I can see the immersion of like, we're all playing a bunch of awakened dinosaurs to be kind of like, okay, how long are we going to do this? You know what I mean?
We're goblins. We can do this forever.
But like, I could totally see doing that as like a 3-shot,
Mm-hmm.
a beginning, middle, and end adventure where you have like,
when I finish Edgewatch, when we're all collecting Social Security.
If you finish Edgewatch.
I want to do a series of one-shots, basically thematic one-shots or 3-shots, a small sequence of events. That's kind of like that. I want to explore these new kinds of stories that we can do now without all the hand-waving.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Creatures. I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Do it.
I'm surprised I haven't cheated more on this list.
I'm proud of you so far, so you can ruin
Thank
all
you.
that expectation.
I can't wait to disappoint you right now. Creature adjustment. That's my contribution. And
that's close enough. Close enough. You.
We've got 3 bestiaries and a monster core.
Absolutely.
And what, like 7, 8, 9, 10 adventure paths worth of original monsters that have come out since then.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of creatures for us to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you use them, you have that many creatures. But if you make them all amphibious, you have this many creatures.
Absolutely.
If you make them amphibious and brood piercer host, you have this many creatures to choose from.
I almost chose the brood piercer.
These the fuck I just say? These creature adjustments,
templates and stuff.
You blow open. It's almost exponential.
It
the
really
number
is.
of monsters you can have. And again, I want to go back to my earlier choice where I said I can tell aquatic stories now. Imagine the Little Mermaid in an undead context. Well, sure, but add the brood piercer thing to it as well.
Explain what a brood piercer is for the audience.
Oh shit, I drank too much for that.
Oh, it's okay. So
go for it.
A brood piercer is like a little insect with a long proboscis nose, and what it does is it finds an egg of some sort, and it cracks a little hole in the egg, and it puts this little proboscis in the egg and implants a little brood piercer seed inside of the embryo.
It's that tree you were talking about.
Exactly. Right? And it embeds itself in the brain, the headspace of this embryo. And the embryo then begins to grow around the brood piercer. They may not even ever know that they have one inside their head until later, where the brood piercer begins to knock at the edge of their psyche and pushes them to explore the world and travel as far and wide as you can, be hyper aggressive and stuff like that. This reminds me a lot of like those fungus that take over ants and like make them
I've heard about that.
Go like pick up shit and get killed so that they basically propagate themselves out wider and wider and wider. This is like this one monster, the brood piercer, and the template that comes with it is the entire catalyst of like, that's an entire story.
Yeah, if you threw that one simple adjustment on every single monster, bestiaries 1 through 3, and all the monsters throughout all the APs and everything, you're not limited to just the stat blocks you're literally looking at in a given book.
What's interesting to me is the adjustment literally says for brood piercers, if its intelligence is worse than -4, make it -3, which suggests that the brood piercer literally gives it an amount of sentience. Yep. It's not smart,
sure,
but it's a
bump.
It's not an animal anymore. It has that sense of id or whatever.
Right. And a GM can take that and create like an alien sense of otherness situation to that. That's awesome. So for the creature adjustment, which is my offering for the creatures bucket in our top 5, you can throw the amphibious adjustment, brood piercer host, chimera heads.
Oh, the chimera heads one's badass. Yeah, that's so cool.
The elite adjustment, which we're already familiar with, the frostbound adjustment, the miniature adjustment, the sandbound adjustment, twinned, TWINNED, weak, which we're familiar with, winged, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, and that's it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 separate adjustments you can throw on any monster. And if you just do them individually, it's that many. If you stack them and stack them and stack them and stack them, sure, we're going to have balance issues eventually we have to consider.
Oh, yeah.
If you make everything flying, you've got an issue, especially if you're at low levels. We all know that. But this will, I'm getting to my bullet points here, allow you to tell, nope, no bullet points. This will allow you to tell the same stories we've all been telling for 40 or 50 years throughout D&D history. You encounter a troll. Oh, cool. We're in a Viking setting, and we're in the far north, snow-capped peaks, and I fight a troll. Okay, great. That was an awesome encounter. Next week, we're going to play a pirate game, and we're off on the coast of Jamaica or something, and then we encounter a troll.
Why?
It's the same creature.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's cool. But the next GM the following week is going to run a game, and we're going to play in like the African savannah. And it's going to be tall grasses, were-lions and tigers, and we encounter a troll. It's the same creature because the troll stat block is the troll fucking stat block.
Yeah,
it's the troll stat block.
Yeah.
We had one of the complaints I have about TTRPG in general is it's the same encounter over and over through most campaigns. Like if you take 70% of the encounters you have in a campaign, it's the one you've been having in every other campaign before.
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
But by doing simple things like giving them winged, making them fly, all of a sudden we have like naked mole rats,
flying
that can
trolls.
Fly,
can you imagine flying trolls?
Sure.
Aquatic trolls?
Yeah. Our setting is now a series of sky islands over a sea that's bottomless.
You get pygmy trolls.
Yeah.
Little tiny trolls. Little baby trolls.
Pygmy trolls. I love
coming
it.
at you.
Yeah, right. You squish me, but I regenerate, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Bow.
Bow.
So Yeah, and like things as simple as like worms that drill through the earth, and we have sky islands, but these worms have winged, and they can fly, and they fly around and they do the bang bang, bite, swallow whole. Yay, I'm a big thing. And then they like fly upward and drill through the sky island. And pop out on the top.
Just imagine
all of a sudden it's a different game.
Oh my gosh, you're like your characters are walking along the savannah and they see they look up and they see these sky islands, and then one of them pulls out their spyglass. You know what I mean? Looks at that sky island because they see something large moving on it, and then they see a worm pop out of the bottom of the sky island, dig its hole out of the bottom of the sky island like a little worm in an apple, and then it sees its wings unfurl. Imagine the kind of terror. You're like, oh shit, is that coming from me? Did it
I didn't
detect
have
me?
that in D&D 10 years ago, 20 years, 30 years ago. So essentially my ultimate argument for this, to boil it down into a TLDR, is the creature adjustment allows you to take any creature you've ever encountered 1,000 times and adjust that encounter 5 degrees. Yeah. And 5 degrees of anything will change the experience.
Absolutely. Especially if you can make it more appropriate for the environment that you're encountering the monster.
Yeah. Yeah. And to bring this back to an earlier thing we said, an hour ago at this point? Imagine the Little Mermaid story, okay? It's not undead anymore. Let's just say it's strictly Little Mermaid. But every creature has the amphibious trait on it. Yeah. In all of the bestiaries. So a nightmare, amphibious. Amphibious nightmare. A naked mole rat, amphibious. A fire elemental. Ooh, we got to adjust some more things in there because, for all the obvious reasons. But if you give it the amphibious trait, that does something to the imagination. It shifts that experience 5 degrees. And it's not the same fucking fire salamander encounter you've encountered millions of times at convention games for 30, 40 years. And
to use your analogy of moving things 5 degrees, in sailing or in overland navigation, 5 degrees is a lot because it's a triangle. And the further you go out, the longer you tell your story with that 5 degree shift, the wider and wider and wider from the initial point of departure you get. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where you expect it to be and where you are now.
That's kind of the point. When you get to the end of that story and you look back and you go, I just did a different story with a troll in it. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't feel like I did that story before, even though it's the same stat block. But it's got this creature adjustment. And I don't have to hand wave in order to achieve that experience. Yeah. I don't have to falsify that 5 degree shift. I don't have to hoodwink my players with it. So I think that was a super simple, stupidly simple, elegant solution to a problem I personally have been having as a GM for decades.
And just a note for the goblins at home who want to play in a game with that, to get back to that, like the creature that implants themselves in your brain. What's it called again? The sting something or whatever. Yeah. The Hostili Host is a player option that allows you to play like a symbiotic alien creature lives in your body and you communicate with it on a regular basis. I just wanted to point that out because like I like having player options and monster options. One of the things this book did really well was whenever it gave you a player option or a monster option, it gave you the conjugate as well. Yep. So you could play one as a player or as a DM, which is an excellent move. Yeah. They knew they had to balance them differently, so they did, and they did a great job with it.
I want to see that with undead. I want to see that with were creatures. I want to see that with all the different types of things we have in Pathfinder. Absolutely. That was amazing. Yeah. That was 4 out of 5. Yeah. Are we ready for the final category?
Wild card. You're supposed to be able to pick whatever you want. It sounds like you've just been choosing wild cards this entire time,
No,
Eric.
I stayed within the rules. I colored in the lines. I just happen to color on the lines sometimes.
Yeah, you are the rules, so you get to stay within the rules whenever you want, don't you? I chose...
Tell me we picked the same thing, because you haven't talked about it yet.
Swarmkeeper?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Cool.
Swarmkeeper.
Yeah. Swarmkeeper. Right. So again... Eric and I, one of our very first Patreon posts we ever made was called The Worm That Walks or The Vermin That Walks, which is basically
one of your suggestions.
Exactly.
Out there,
the NPC. Yeah. So I did my best to adapt the undead archetype to a worm that walks as an idea. Obviously, the Swarm Keeper is not the same. This is a person who has like a swarm that lives with them. Sure. Imagine like a ranger whose animal companion is a swarm instead.
I've got Vampire Hunter D on the brain. Sure. There's a guy with a wasp hive on his back.
Totally. And there's a famous Naruto reference too, but I can't remember the name of the character, but everyone who's ever watched Naruto will know who I'm talking about. So this is a very popular thing in pop culture and stuff like that. I thought they did a really excellent job with the design of the Swarm Keeper, and I just want to point it out. So basically, what it allows you to do is the monster lives on you, or the swarm lives on you, and then it can come off of you, and then you can basically command it around the battlefield in a more limited way than what you can command a normal animal companion to do. And that's because swarms typically don't attack things. They just automatically do damage.
Right.
And so does this. But it also allows you to do automatic debuffs and things like that. It also shares your health pool, which is a huge departure from the way animal companions are run. And it's much more closer to how summoners run. Maybe I'm living in the clouds, but I feel like maybe the person who designed this might have also been the person who designed the summoner, and kind of decided, what if we had designed the summoner a little different?
Oh, I did not make that connection.
And they went this way with it because it shares a lot of similarities with how the mechanics of the summoner work, but it does things in different ways, from a little more of a restrictive way, but a much more straightforward on how to control the swarm and the abilities that are related to it. It rhymes with the summoner in so many ways. I wonder how much of that design space, how much of those designers talk to each other, if it's the same person. So Weaver's Web is really cool. You have like a swarm of spiders or something like that, and it can do like an AoE slowdown debuff and stuff like that. Distracting bites, mobile swarm, carried with the swarm. So basically, this is an archetype that allows you to kind of slowly but surely become the bugs. And it's not a 1-for-1 recreation of the same idea as the worm that walks. But as you get to the end of the archetype, they do very similar things, which for me, as someone who's like a new designer, we're both new designers to the space. It's really cool to see the big guys, the big leagues, the quote unquote real game designers take a crack at the same idea you had and see where they went with it. Because both of, dare I say, both of our options are balanced within the context of the option itself. Like the vermin that walks that I designed has the rare tag. The Swarm Keeper dedication has the uncommon tag. So right at the gate, we're talking about two different power levels. I had more tools to work with than they did because the designer, had to fall within the confines of the similar power level of a common or uncommon archetype.
Makes me think there could be a third version of this.
Maybe. Whereas I ripped off or riffed, I should say, off of the undead archetypes, the basic undead traits. And I made my own basic vermin traits that you got as like a template. So yeah, there's a little more shilling at you, goblins. If you want to check out that, go to our Patreon, $5 a month, blah, blah, blah. You guys get the drill at this point. But yeah, the Swarm Keeper archetype, I just love the idea, of playing like a witch, a witch of the mosquito. And in this book, I've had an idea of a witch I wanted to play for so long, this mosquito witch that has like these swarms of mosquitoes that can turn into mosquitoes, kind of like a bat. Like it's kind of like a vampire that turns into mosquitoes instead of turns into, like a bat or whatever, because they're both blood sucking. I can now pretty much make that in my game with raw Pathfinder. I don't have to third party brew anything. And to me, for that reason alone, it's my wild card. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, my wild card, my probably one of my favorite things out of this entire book is the Swarm Keeper archetype.
Yeah. I didn't look too deeply into that because I knew my second pass through, I was going to zero in on that. That's one of my things to circle back to. Okay. Since it's a wild card, there's no way I can fuck this up. So
challenge accepted, ladies and gentlemen.
Right? I don't have any more beer for you to hold. So the thing you're probably going to notice about all of my options so far is it's specifically talking about ways to expand the scope of what you already have. I have access to 150 monsters. By doing these things, now I have 1,050 monsters. There's that, and I want to tell certain kinds of stories using the mechanics available, and I just couldn't do that before now. Those are the two things that inform my list more than anything. Grafts are my wild pick for this one. I can't get out of here without talking about grafts because that was...
I saw your face when I mentioned grafts as my thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is coming." I knew
we were both going there in some capacity.
Totally.
How can you not? How can you not? Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of my earlier 4, what kind of stories can you tell with grafts? Can you make that argument? And I think you can. We talk a big game about keeping it weird here on Goblin Salvage Rights, and I don't think I walk the walk as much as I talk the talk on that end. But with grafts, you absolutely do. You can tell mutant punk stories with grafts, like Warhammer, Chaos Infected, kind of energies. Absolutely. Mutant League Football, if anybody's played that video game. No.
Never heard of it.
Hatchling probably at the time.
Probably, yeah.
Marvel Comics, you can do X-Men using grafts.
That's true.
You could do superhero stories using grafts. All over the place. So that's thing 1 for grafts. By itself, that's perfect, but I got 3 more bullet points here. Number 2 is I think grafts are a backdoor means of playing mixed ancestries. But instead of ancestries, it's mixed creatures. So with ancestries, you can play an elf or a human, and you can play a half-elf. But you couldn't do the same thing with dwarves until fairly recently in Pathfinder, where they gave us that option. But what about like with critters? Can I play a human that has deer attributes for my furry power fantasy?
Yeah, totally.
They actually show a really amazing piece of art in here of Harsk, the dwarven ranger. And he's got that massive crocodilian tail.
With the tail, so cool.
Amazing, right? So this is almost like the awakened animal power fantasy thing we were talking about earlier, but it's mutant. And that's a key distinction for me. It's weird, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's dingy, it's grungy. So the idea of taking your ability to play mixed ancestries and expanding your builds, this feels like that to me, but with creatures instead of ancestries. So like an orc anglerfish is an example I have.
Did you see the Harsk one where he has the eyeballs pushing out of his head?
That's upsetting to me.
It is. It's
like the snail eye stalks.
Yeah. It's kind of triggering, honestly. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So 3rd bullet point is furry power fantasy. Number 4 is I just feel like grafts with the eccentricities that it would bring would pair really well with Rage of Elements.
In what way?
Rage of Elements is already weird. You have lava otters. Yeah. I mean, they're otters.
You have lava
otters. They're creatures of magma.
Yeah.
They're sort of like they're creatures of 2 worlds. And when you have Harsk is a dwarven's dwarf, a man's man, but dwarven. And then you give him those crocodilian features, but he's not a were-crocodile. No. That's not what it is. He's something chimeric.
Yeah.
And that goes into other parts of the book. Not that one, but the Howl of the Wild. When you're dealing with chimeric ideas, necrots, that's my word in Old Norse poetry. The idea of a necrot is sort of like you have a wolf and you have a tree. Well, what if you have those in the same creature? What is that? Is that a werewolf tree thing? Is it a hybrid? No, it's a necrot. It's its own thing. It's 2 unlike things that are together. They inhabit the same space and they are almost like a unique kind of a thing. With grafts, you almost have necrots, and that sort of otherness that you get with the multiple planes of existence seems to be like you graft other planes of existence onto prime material creatures like humans and orcs and orc dwarves.
Orc dwarves, orcs. I love it. Shipping it right now. TM.
So I always felt like, especially with Planescape, with Dungeons & Dragons, there was that punk aesthetic that they brought to it. And that was, sure, largely the artist at the time. But like this motherfucker right here, he's a fossilized dinosaur, and he's radioactive because he's got radioactive earth kind of all drilled up inside him. He's all grilled up, right?
Yeah.
And there's definitely a planar punk aesthetic to this entire book. I think that's undeniable. And the idea of grafting things, it shares that space to me. So what kind of stories can we tell? Mutant punk stories. And do we have examples of that out there? Like Gamma World for Dungeons & Dragons was one of those. I'm sure that the Grimdark, what are those fucking books called? Mork Borg, where they have like the pirate version and they have this version and that version. There's got to be a mutant kind of version going on out there. I think of I keep coming back to Warhammer for my example because when you introduce the chaos energies to anything else, you get that that Arcana punk aesthetic.
Absolutely.
And these Necrots start popping out. So my wild card is Grasp because it's fucking wild. I couldn't tell these stories without doing a bunch of hand waving.
Absolutely.
Before this book came out.
And you
just can't.
You couldn't equip players the same way you can now.
Yeah.
Like, you want to do an aquatic story? Okay. My adventurers are on the edge of the ocean. They're about to, they know they have like a deep dive they have to do in a sunken city. They go get gills sewn to their necks.
Right.
So
Instead
they can
of
breathe
potions
underwater.
of water breathing.
Yeah.
There's a whole adventure path about the going underwater in first edition for Pathfinder. And sure, they made it work. It was great. It was fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Really?
But it's cool with graphs.
It's not cool with potions of water breathing. Let's just be honest.
No, that feels like a cheat.
Yeah, it does.
But this verisimilitude in spades.
Exactly.
So like I love that idea.
And where did you get those gills? Are they just fish
from
gills?
My gill crafter because I have rules for it now.
Or did you have to murder a mermaid in order to strip those?
Eat her heart
like,
so you can not age for 8 years.
Oh God, that feat! Oh my God, I remember my notes for that were like, actually, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like, these are the kinds of stories like a potion. Oh, where did you get the potion? I got it from the potion man. I got it from the
store.
The potion store. But like, where did you get those gills that are high enough quality and close enough to mammalian gills or whatever to be able to graft? You could begin to tie in or stitch in.
It grounds a story.
Exactly.
It makes it go like, oh, I can totally see that.
Exactly.
I can live there.
The verisimilitude.
Yeah. And alchemists are cool again with this here. It's because of the formula thing. And I really hope they find a way to, when they finally come out with Player Core 2 and say, yay, we finally fixed alchemist. Again, the grafting part works well with that because I'd love to see an alchemical, like a mutagenist with the grafter.
Well,
and get
so
that
the way it
weird
works
punk
right
aesthetic
now
back
is
in.
there's a medicine alchemist that can use their intelligence for medicine checks. And that should, mechanically speaking, allow them to use their intelligence for the crafting checks or whatever that are required to attach the grafts because you use the medicine skill and not the crafting skill.
I'm just seeing that Therunosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
And he gets gills crafted in there.
Oh my God.
And he goes underwater.
Laser beams underwater, dude.
And we're like on the beach and we see steam going out to sea.
What?
I just
yeah.
You had to hand wave this shit before this book
There's
came
so many
out.
possibilities.
So design space, blowing it up. All of my options are hyper focused on that. And whether these are viable options or maximized options or they're just not quite there yet, or we're going to see some errata because we know we are. I'm so not concerned with that right now. I can tell my story.
I'm just here for it. I'm just here for it.
So yeah, that's our Goblin 10.
Our Goblin 10. What's the time? What's the ticker at, Eric?
We are looking at 1 hour, 59 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah, Goblins. I think that's a good place to stop.
We did it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For the 1 or 2 of you that are still watching, thank you so much.
We really appreciate your views and your time. We really appreciate you watching our episodes and supporting us however you can. Tell your friends about the podcast. If you've got someone who's interested in Pathfinder for the first time, send them our 3 steps video or the 3 core things you need to know about Pathfinder. We're really just trying to spread the word about the game because we really love telling stories.
In love with the system the way we did.
Exactly. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, Goblins. And as always, keep it weird.